country and our economy and the world. A lot of people have got to die for Donald Trump to match George W. Bush's numbers. That war in Iraq never should have happened, the one that Donald Trump pretends he opposed. And so, in looking at it, is there a danger that by seeing the Democrats and Republicans all ganging together as we're the civil, dignified people who can disagree and still get along, that they've run a racket, the two-party duopoly, again, that Donald Trump and Bernie warned us about, only Bernie meant it, Trump didn't, that we have now normalized George W. Bush, and he seems like a nice, reasonable guy. When in reality, he was a much worse president than Donald Trump. Trump's a worse person, Bush worse president.
I disagree.
Tell me, please.
I think comparatively speaking, a lot of people can look at what George W. Bush did and be appalled by it, but I still think it pales in comparison to what Donald Trump has done and what he's trying to do. And the one thing that George, even though he was installed by the Supreme Court,
again, a lot of what he's trying to do is not, he's not going to get a racist, stupid wall built, but Bush did get to invade a country that didn't attack us and kill 1 million people.
You can't go with the blood on your hands argument because every president has blood on their hands.
Absolutely, sure.
So how can you go with the blood on their hands argument?
There's different degrees. Like I don't
name one president that doesn't have blood on his hands.
Well,
Dave.
it's how much blood?
Yeah,
Jimmy Carter didn't have that much blood.
He didn't have as much blood as Bush did.
Oh, okay. Well, now
Reagan
that
didn't.
much blood, and you're picking a one-termer.
Reagan didn't have all that much blood. I mean, there was Grenada, and there was, the Marines in Lebanon who were victims.
And but in the case of what happened in Iraq, I object to when they keep calling it a blunder. It wasn't a blunder at all. It worked perfectly. Dick Cheney. And Trump, and again, Vladimir Putin's the worst president we've had since Dick Cheney. Dick Cheney carved that country up, gave no bid contracts to his friends. They're not capitalists. They're all gangsters. And then we invaded. The WMDs weren't there, but Dick Cheney's company got $40 billion from our taxes. So to me, where's the blunder part? It worked perfectly. It was sinister, it was selfish, it was evil, and maybe Bush at best was the dumb puppet that was manipulated into selling it as a moral crusade.
Are you talking about junior or senior?
Junior.
Okay, yeah. The entire war in Iraq was a blunder.
It was a racket. That's what they should call it. A racket.
I mean, there are people that even believe that going into Afghanistan was a blunder.
Some
people will tell you that was about gas, or that was actually about the CIA controlling the poppy crop.
Yeah.
People will tell you all kinds of stories about that.
That's true.
At least we had just been attacked, and the attacker, if you believe the story, was there.
Right. My whole point is for Donald Trump to be on the same plane of badness as a president, not as a person, and again, as a leader, he's probably worse than Bush. But as a president, you've got to have 5,000 dead soldiers, double that with suicides. You've got to have 1 million dead Iraqis, a crashed housing market, and a crashed world economy before Donald Trump gets to ride the same bus as Bush.
But here we go with the blowback that I'm going to get from you and Dave.
Okay.
How could you say that, you anti-Semitic bastard?
How dare you?
Excuse me.
You call yourself an ally.
I will point at you when it's your turn to talk, sir. I will point at you when it's your turn to talk. Okay.
We're talking about veterans.
Okay. Here's the thing that those gentlemen did not do, in my opinion.
All right.
They did not attempt to dismantle democracy. They did not attempt to dismantle the democracy we live in.
No, they didn't do it. They
did democracy no favors. Bush lost the popular vote and didn't give a fuck. Bush Sr. vetoed the motor voter bill that would automatically register every American to vote as soon as they got their license.
Which pales in comparison to a president that is attacking the press, that is trying to imprison his political enemies,
what I'm saying
that is using the power of his...
But Trumpism is a continuation and a mutation of the movement that we've been seeing this party do for 35 years.
I think had Romney or McCain been elected, that would have been the continuation. This is a whole different ugly animal we're talking about.
It is a mutation, but it's the same race baiting, fear of illegal immigrants, even though that's not a crisis, redistribution of wealth to the wealthiest among us, the nonstop fear mongering. I mean,
so you're equating one Willie Horton ad with everything that Trump has done.
No,
with xenophobia?
Trump is much worse. At least the Bushes reminded people that the Muslims aren't our enemies. Trump wants to go ahead and demonize all of them. Trump's much worse. Don't get me wrong, Frank. I promise.
Right.
He's a mutation. But again, policy-wise, there's a lot of Republicans who are embarrassed of the man. They don't mind the policies.
I agree with that. I just don't think that the Bushes or even Reagan attempted to dismantle democracy. I think what they did was try and gin the game, but I don't think they tried to dismantle democracy. Trump is literally trying to dismantle democracy. If he could be king, he would be.
I agree with you, but this whole country's history,
and
Frank,
that's entirely different than what you're talking about.
Yeah, the founding fathers wanted only rich white males to be able to vote. This country's whole history has been the aristocracy.
That's practicing presentism. That's practicing presentism.
What I'm saying, but the whole history of the country has been the aristocracy trying to limit democracy, because democracy has always been a threat to the aristocracy.
Which is why it's up to the individual to make the difference when there's that sort of seductive power on the line. Why was George Washington such a great president? Because basically they said to him, stay as long as you want, and he said no.
I think we're agreeing on
I don't
a lot
want
of
to be
stuff here.
king.
Yeah.
Okay. That what you're talking about is entirely different than anything. A lot of people didn't like JFK. A lot of people didn't like, really, when you get down to it, what he did, like with Vietnam and a lot of other things. But it was literally like that man's singular presence that stopped the world from being annihilated. This is when individuals sometimes trump the system.
Sure.
Okay. And Trump.
To all artists, to all failed painters.
Hitler
somewhere in hell, Hitler is so offended at these Trump comparisons that he's going to take it out on Trump when he sees him. And when Trump goes to hell, I hope they're roommates, because I think Hitler's worst punishment would be having to share a room with Trump and watch Trump try to take over hell. Let's make hell again.
Everybody's got that metaphor wrong. It's actually Trump is Mussolini, Putin is Hitler.
I actually think Trump is Chamberlain and Putin is Hitler. Come on. Get in bed with me on this one. Get in bed.
No, I like that.
Under the covers.
I like that too.
We're in bed on this one.
I like that too. The only reason that I go with the Mussolini thing is everybody looked the other way because the trains ran on time. Everybody's looking the other way now because the economy's going well.
Yeah, and guess what? In 6 months, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Our number is 877-974-7487. We just found out that they were telling Trump in his first few months that this tax plan, you know what's going to happen. It's going to lead to a huge economic crash. And Trump said, and he has not denied this yet, he said, but I won't be here anymore.
Oh, my God.
877-9-SIRIUS. People have been on hold for a very long time. Let's invite a few in. This is the ADD Hour, guys. So what you guys want to talk about, it doesn't have to have anything to do with what we are talking about. So you want to talk about Jay-Z and Kanye, I'm with you. Lou in New Jersey, welcome. You're on Insight with Kendra, Frank and David.
Hello, John.
Hi.
Or as Stephanie Miller says, happy day before sentencing memo day.
We'll see. We'll see.
Now, I'm a substitute teacher here in New Jersey, and
Thank you for
all
your
the
service.
kids in middle school think that Trump is a buffoon, and good for them. But my problem still is, and it's going to be exponentially worse, I fear, is that about 65% of the people in my town still support Trump, and many of them are close friends. And is that ever going to change? Because even when the Mueller report comes out, I'm still fearful they're not going to buy it.
I know, but here's the deal. If we're hearing all these, forecasts of doom, even Bruce Springsteen saying they have no one who could beat Trump. Here's the deal. All they have to do is have the same level of turnout and then get 10 to 15% of Trump's base to flip. That's it. 10 to 15%. I mean,
Never
look how
gonna
close
happen.
these elections were. Well, let's wait and see, because Robert
No, the
Mueller
10 to
knows that you will
15% flip.
probably not, but you never know, because there's a lot of working class. Listen, I think if you voted for Obama and then voted for Trump, you don't pay attention to issues, okay? And you just kind of go with where the shiny thing is at. They said when George H.W. Bush was at 89% approval in 1991, he was undefeated. And 3 short years later, bada bing. They said Hillary Clinton couldn't be defeated. I said Hillary Clinton couldn't be defeated. Bada bing. The fickleness and short attention span of the American voter that allowed a reality show dude with a gold toilet to become president will come back to haunt him.
The reason that very few Trump voters will ever flip is because they are conspiracy theorists, and you cannot change a conspiracy theorist's mind.
But they're still the minority.
Right. I'm just saying we're not going to flip anybody. So
Yeah.
let's stop the Democratic Party. Let's stop going
Yeah.
after,
I agree with that, too.
these suburban Republicans that we think we're going to bring back to sanity. Let's just run progressives, and let's just have a better ground game, and let's just straight out beat them, because we're not going to bring anybody onto our side.
What I got
That's
from
a
the
good point.
midterms was you get the high turnout Democrats and you'll win, but The biggest ones, the marquee names didn't. And if you had gotten 10% to flip, and again, the economic downturn hasn't happened yet, but this is Bush's first term all over again. And, when you have this sort of thing with like, hey, here's, look in the mail, it's the credit card, no spending limit, party. Then another mailman comes with the bill. That mailman will come before the 2020 election.
Well, that's why we want to get rid of the post office.
Thank you.
Well, who are you talking about as Democrats that didn't win that you expected to? The only Democrats that lost it were senators that were Republican light.
Well, look how close Stacey Abrams, Beto O'Rourke, and Andrew Gillum came in states where they had no business coming that close.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, that's fantastic. They won, as far as I'm concerned, to come that close and overcome the deficits they had. So what I'm saying is, if you can keep the turnout this high, I mean, Trump might be the best thing that ever happened to the Democratic Party, but if you keep the turnout that high, you can really see results. But I do agree with you. Trying to make them flip won't do it. I sort of think circumstance might. Because Trump's not going to get more popular.
And also, let's let the party be progressive and not just a different version of the same damn philosophy and category.
People will vote for big ideas. There's no rock stars
and
running.
Republicans light. We got to get these the corporate Democrats out of politics and run some real progressives and run some real people.
That's begun, don't you think?
I think it's begun in some of the House races. They didn't get anywhere near it in the Senate.
Sure, that's
except for Texas.
Lou, what do you think? Are you optimistic?
I am somewhat optimistic. Here in New Jersey, at least, we flipped our district, and
but you had to live with Menendez too.
Yeah, that's right.
Andy Kim.
Andy Kim, and that was considered to be a long shot.
I had that guy on my show.
Oh, did you?
The guy who stood up to Tom MacArthur at the town hall meeting. You should have this guy on your show.
Sure.
You know what I'm talking about?
No, but let's talk about your show more. David's show is excellent. Everyone should subscribe. Lou, thank you so much for calling in. I really appreciate it.
Okay, thanks a lot, John.
Thank you. I don't see Trump winning Jersey in 2020. I'm sorry, I don't see it happening.
No, Trump won't win Jersey in 2020. But you could very well be looking at an election cycle in 2020 where we even pick up more seats in the House.
I love Frank because we agree and we fight all the time.
We flip the Senate, but Trump still gets reelected.
That's very possible.
But can I have a question? So you were saying how you think that Trump's not the worst president, but he could be the worst person.
Again, he's got to kill a lot of Indians to be as bad as Andrew Johnson.
Right. But do you think that him showing his, I don't know, poor character or whatever you want to say, is going to flip people at all? I mean, did you see him at the funeral yesterday?
The Democrats don't need. Yeah, I did. It was disgusting what he did to that Marine. Democrats don't need to have someone
handing the jacket.
Yeah, Democrats don't need to have someone more popular than Hillary Clinton. They need to have someone less unpopular than Hillary Clinton because she was both. She was both. This is what people can't wrap their heads around sometimes. And I think Bruce Springsteen's right. The Democrats don't have any names that can beat him, but they could have ideas that can beat him because big ideas are why people got attracted and passionate for Trump and Sanders in the first place.
Right.
So big ideas, I think,
I
get
just thought
people
he
off
was
the couch.
I know this is girly, but I thought he was so rude at the funeral. Like,
so rude. Tell me,
he
please.
wouldn't. Well, first of all, him and Melania never once participated in any of the songs or the prayers or anything. And you don't have to be religious, but you're sitting in the front row. I think it's part of the...
They had the lyrics in their hands.
Yeah, and they're staring at the ground. I'm like, did they have a conversation about this before they came in? That they're like, we're not going to pray, we're not going to sing. How did they get in sync about not participating? It's crazy.
I think they're just both tense all the time, and they both felt the scorn of the room around them.
It's like that thing with the, it was like the thing in France. I mean, why go to the graveyard when it's raining when you're sitting in your hotel room waiting for your cheeseburger to show up to room service?
I think it's
This is just who he is. Like,
no, I know, but it keeps getting more and more.
Did you find
like,
it pouty, Kendra? Did you find it pouty on his part?
I just.
Why is it at my funeral?
I thought he was just.
How come he gets to be buried?
Like that's what I thought it was. It wasn't about him. So
Why
he
are they all
was
talking
like
about this guy? He's not even here, okay? He's in a box.
Did you
My
see?
funeral will have the greatest ratings of all time. Can you imagine? Everyone who loves him is going to watch his funeral, but the people who fucking hate him, by that I mean the majority of humanity, oh man, I want to buy advertising time on his funeral.
Did you see that thing with Don Lemon?
Which thing?
That,
Oh, with the...
With he said he wouldn't.
What was that?
He was saying that if he was Obama, he wouldn't have shaken his hand.
Yeah.
That he would have just like given him a head nod or whatever.
Well, I love Don. I do Don's show, but that's why he's Don and Obama's Obama, because Obama will shake his hand.
Well, that's what it was. A whole big thing about being.
Obama's the man we want to be,
right.
and Trump's the man we are when no one's looking.
What happened? So he gave the. I saw that too. Is that not right to do? When
What?
he gave the jacket to the Marine?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it seemed a little like I don't know. Did anyone else do it? I didn't. They didn't show anybody else doing
it's
that.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
No, anyone who still thinks this man has any respect for the armed forces
Right.
has just Kool-Aid, because I can show you 40 years of contempt for our troops. Paul in Westchester, welcome. You're on Insight with Frank, David, and Kendra.
Hello, hello. First, this morning I learned that Meacham, who eulogized Bush yesterday, got to read his eulogy to Bush.
Yes.
That was arranged. That was very interesting.
Yeah,
Second
normally
of
you got to be like Tom Sawyer to hear your own eulogy, but Bush
Yeah.
found a way to
And did
have
you hear
your biographer
what? Did
write
you
it.
hear what Bush said when after he read it?
What do you say?
That's a lot about me.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Thought that was funny.
We're all comics. They're just going to read our credits. That's all it's going to be.
John, I want to thank you. Your review of Dylan a week ago, Tuesday, I believe. I heard it on Wednesday.
Yeah.
You went on Tuesday, and it caused me to ask somebody who I never have asked to help me out so I could see the show, someone who's involved with the organizations.
Okay.
And I saw it Friday night, and it was unbelievable. It was like being in the Fillmore East again.
Let me
I've seen
tell
Dylan
you,
many times.
Paul, I try to not bore people too much, because I've seen enough Bob Dylan shows to end a marriage. And the first time I ever saw him was in the Beacon, like 28 years ago, and I didn't understand what was going on. It was bizarre. I couldn't understand half of what he said. And by the end of that show, I was at the foot of the stage standing and cheering, and he had made it a small room. He does what George Carlin did. People who don't get it or are offended are going to walk out in the first hour because it's not what I thought I'd get. But what Dylan does at every show is try to create a sound, challenge himself, make himself interested, reinvent these songs. He's always pushing himself. He will never... God bless Billy Joel. God bless him. I love him. Bob will never be a greatest hits jukebox. He can't sing that way anyway. He doesn't want to. I love realizing like a minute in, oh, it's that song. But I've seen the guy 59 times, Paul. I went to the show last week. Charmian came with me. I said, you don't have to come. You've seen him so many times. She came last year. She did not like the Sinatra songs. I like the Sinatra stuff. She did not like it. I was so expecting to apologize to my wife all night, and she loved it. One of my top 5 shows. I just got the bootleg of it, and I was playing it this morning. It sounds great. His Don't Think Twice, It's All Right with the piano. I've never, ever, in 59 shows, I'm like a deadhead. I've never heard him sing like that. It's he should be booked on SNL right now. And the Like a Rolling Stone arrangement was, people were gasping with what he did with that song.
Listen. By the way, it was the whole band playing. You said it was just a bow and a stand-up.
No. I said when he gets to the refrain, when he gets to the bridge, about having to be scrounging your next meal. That's when he goes to just his voice, the piano, and Tony Garnier on the upright bass with a bowstring. The drums. Everyone else stops playing. And it gets quiet, and the whole room gets freaked out that he gets quiet in the middle of Like a Rolling Stone, and then it builds again, and it was like he made it a song for an old man to sing instead of a young man. And I don't know how he does it. It's not for everybody. I don't recommend it to everybody. He's fucking weird, but I loved it.
I tell you, if you want to...
I've bored every studio
No,
talking
no,
about
I
Bob
know.
Dylan.
I wanna go now.
Yeah.
The Hendrix performance of Like a Rolling Stone at Monterey.
Monterey?
Film, which is a great film.
Yes, and it's
When
the best
he
Hendrix
said-
live album, by the way. It's better than Woodstock.
Yeah. When you say, when you ain't got nothing, you got nothing to lose, he makes it a blues classic.
Yes.
Right there, in that moment, he grabs it, and it's a black man, and he's talking about the reality.
I agree. And Jimi Hendrix was Bob's biggest fan.
I know, and I was just disappointed that he didn't do Watchtower.
Well, let me tell you. I'll tell you why. He did it the night I went, and I went on Hendrix's 75th birthday last Tuesday. It was a weird kind of reggae-ish arrangement he was doing, and after the show I went to, I heard he dropped it and began doing It Takes a Lot to Laugh. He didn't like the arrangement as an encore. That's all. You can go to YouTube. You can hear it today.
Okay, I will check it out.
Paul, we've driven all the women away now. We got to go.
Okay.
I've scared every millennial away from their radios with this conversation.
Needs to be voting rights because the state-run elections in this country are hurting all of us.
Okay.
They are taking
We
our
should have
power.
led with this because Tatiana's applying for a new job now after all the Dylan talk. She's got LinkedIn up. But yeah, I agree with you. A new Voting Rights Act where pre-clearance applies to all 50 states, not just the Confederate states. That way it's fair, and you still have the precautions against these disgusting voter ID laws they're trying to pull when we are now seeing There is a side that's doing voter fraud, and it ain't the Democrats. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it.
Or have the federal government be in charge of federal elections. You want to run your state elections, go ahead. But when it comes to the Senate and the House,
I go beyond this. I think they should burn every electronic voting machine. It should all be paper ballots. There's too much room for fraud. We've seen too many cell phone videos of people's votes automatically being flipped. It can be hacked. Anything can be hacked. That's been proven. And I am just into preserving democracy or reminding Republicans what it is. Let's take a break. And thank you for being on hold so long. We'll have more. And we'll talk more about the Bush funeral, because what fun. Here is a song Tom Petty and Jeff Lynne wrote for Roy Orbison. It's the lead-off track on the Mystery Girl album. Tatiana Zamis, Goddess, why are we playing this song?
He died today.
He died today in 1990, was it? 1988. It was right after the Wilburys came out. 30 years ago today, Roy Orbison left the building. And this was his posthumous record. It's got songs by Elvis Costello, Bono and the Edge. It's called Mystery Girl. This song was covered by Bonnie Raitt. This is You Got It. Oh, it's great. And you can hear Tom Petty and Jeff Lynne singing the harmonies. We'll be right back on Insight.